Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're continuing on our series of going through different categories at the upcoming Academy Awards and breaking down the categories. And in today's category breakdown video, we're taking a look at the Best Actress category. So if you haven't seen any of the previous videos in the series, there's a playlist on my channel with pretty much all, but I guess the last kind of, I think, 5 or so. So what would that be? There's like 18-ish videos, 17 videos in the series over on my profile. So check those out. But if you haven't seen any of the videos, just a quick rundown of kind of how each or how how we go throughout these videos is I'm just going to go through each of the nominees in the category, say some facts about them, and then kind of talk about their film and talk about their performance a little bit, and then at the end I'm going to give you my personal ranking and my prediction for how likely it is I think that they win the Academy Award on March 10th. And then as always, before we get into this, just quick little fact that I've found, doing my research on this is that all 5 of these actresses, they have combined for 15 nominations throughout their career, but they only have 1 win among those nominations, so it's very possible that we've got another first-time Oscar winner. And then another thing that's kind of new to this video that I haven't addressed in any other video, I'm sure you might be able to tell if you've seen some of the other videos, I don't really have a full voice right now. Kind of been sick the last couple days, kind of been pushing through this, and I want to keep up my goal of posting every single day here for this last like 3 weeks or so leading up to the Oscars. So pushing through this. Hopefully tomorrow's video, maybe my voice is a little better, but today it's kind of a little rough, so bear with me. But without further ado, let's take a look at the nominees. And the first nominee that we're taking a look at is Annette Bening in Nyad. This is Annette Bening's 5th Oscar nomination, but she is still looking for her first win. She was nominated for Best Actress in 2010 for The Kids Are All Right, in 2004 for Being Julia, and in 1999 for American Beauty. Her first nomination was for Best Supporting Actress back in 1990 for The Grifters. And so Annette Bening was kind of the big surprise, right, on Oscar nomination morning. And I've noticed that I feel like this happens a decent amount where the big surprises always have like early names in the alphabet, like when Kathy Bates, kind of got the big surprise nomination for what was that movie, the Clint Eastwood, Richard Jewell, back in what was that 2020-ish. So I've noticed this trend where sometimes I feel like the big surprise is because it's the first name you hear and it's like instantly catches you off guard. But Annette Bening was a little bit of the surprise. A lot of people obviously were expecting Margot Robbie. And then if it wasn't Margot Robbie, I think a lot of people were kind of expecting Greta Lee to maybe be in the conversation. And then, you had Fantasia Barrino from The Color Purple. Like, there was a lot of names that were kind of in this race. And Annette Bening was always there, but I think a lot of people just didn't ever fully commit and fully believe that she had the momentum. And then I think it was because she got nominated in a couple different precursors, and then I think it was kind of the SAG Awards when she got nominated there that was kind of a big like, oh, this might happen, this might be a thing that happens. And so I think a lot of people, and at that point, because I think a lot of people were probably kind of predicting Jodie Foster to happen at that point just because the supporting actress was a little weak. I think people thought that lead actress was just so strong that it's like hard to say that she was going to sneak in, but ultimately Annette Bening does. Kind of talking about her performance in Nyad, I think Nyad, it's kind of taken on a little bit of the villain role this Oscar season. There's always kind of one film that a lot of people don't like, and they kind of dogpile on it, and sometimes I think that everyone kind of dogpiling on one film can kind of bring the perception of the film down a little bit. So for me, Nyad is possibly, I don't know for sure, but it's one of my least favorite of all the Oscar nominated films this year, but I still think it's an okay movie. It's still an okay film. It's just kind of very middle of the road. The script isn't necessarily the best, and it kind of gets repetitive, but what kind of carries the film for me is the performances. Jodie Foster especially is, I think, a little bit stronger. Her performance, she gets more range, more to do, I think, in her role, where she's kind of more of the supportive friend, as opposed to Annette Bening, who's kind of just has the one speed, and it's competitive, it's kind of intense. And I think that performance, I think, could rub you the wrong, and it has rubbed some people the wrong way, but I think it also, without Jodie Foster's kind of supporting performance there, I think that what makes you kind of come around a little bit more on Annette Bening's character. If there wasn't the loving supporting friend role there to kind of help you see the good sides about this character that at times is pretty unlikable, it would make it harder for you to kind of fully come around on them as a character and them as a person. So I do think, again, that's why I think I like Jodie Foster's performance a little bit more. I think she's doing a little bit more. But Annette Bening, it's still a good performance, and it's one of those that, sure, I probably would have, my first choice would have been, Greta Lee. She would have been my first choice to get in, and then Margot Robbie I probably would have had over her. But I'm not like super mad about Annette Bening getting in. I think it was a fine performance, and I think it was a film with two great lead performances that, I don't mind them getting nominated and honored here by the Academy. So my personal ranking for Annette Bening, I am still going to put her in fifth, and then my prediction is fifth as well. The next nominee that we're taking a look at is Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon. This is Lily Gladstone's first Oscar nomination. She won at the SAG Awards and the Golden Globes, and was also nominated at the Critics' Choice Awards. Gladstone received a lot of attention in critics groups for Certain Women back in 2016, but her role as Molly Burkhart in Killers of the Flower Moon is her first major award show traction. And so Lily Gladstone, her performance here as Molly Burkhart, or Molly Kyle, is, it's truly, it is one of the most, just it's one of the most phenomenal acting performances of the year, right? And I think that there's a lot of kind of traction with her this award season about potentially being one of the first, or I think she was the first Indigenous person to be nominated in a lead acting category. So obviously she could be the first to win in a lead acting category. So there's a lot of kind of the subplot that's kind of going on, I guess, with the campaign here for Lily Gladstone. But just looking at the performance, like, it's worthy just without any of the extra stuff that you want to throw in. Like, her performance is that good. It's she's that worthy in the film, and it's, I think, frustrating that a lot of people after the film were kind of reducing her role to just certain fractions of the performance, and kind of a lot of people kind of reducing it to the third act where, without spoilers, she's not really as involved. She's still there, still has some scenes, but like she's kind of less involved than she was earlier. And then I think some people are just reducing her in, kind of to the middle of the film, reducing her to, oh, she only has one emotion. She only has one thing that she's doing the entire time. And even if that were the case, she's doing that one emotion so well. But that's not the case. Like, if you just, I think maybe because the film was just so long, they kind of just forgot a lot about the nuances and the beautiful moments of her performance. So I think, obviously telling you to go rewatch another 3.5 hour long movie is maybe a tough ask, but if you go rewatch Killers of the Flower Moon and just focus in and kind of dial in on her performance, you'll see there's so much more range than I think a lot of people, the people attacking her online, are giving her credit for. There is, obviously, you got the kind of the first act. You do have the kind of the romance with Leo, the kind of the flirty and kind of upbeat, friendly nature that she has, and then obviously her character, as the film is kind of a very tragic telling of real historical events. Obviously her character has a lot of kind of sad and tragic moments, and she's able to express that emotion really, really well. And then obviously in the third act, when she's not there as much, that's still acting, and she's still bringing a lot to the film in that sense as well, and doing what she's doing. And so it's just throughout the film, it's through all 3.5 hours, she's obviously not as on screen as much as Leo and De Niro. So if you want to, say that she should have been supporting, whatever. I don't think we should ever kind of dock someone for jumping from supporting to lead. Obviously there's kind of the category fraud if you go the other way, but jumping from, supporting to lead is like, that's how impactful her performance was, and how everyone just knew that what she's doing in this film, with less screen time than the other two, she's still bringing so much to the film, so much to the character, that her impact just on the film in general is just going to be that important and that impactful. So my personal ranking for Lily Gladstone, I'm putting her in second, and as of right now, I am predicting her to win. The next nominee that we're taking a look at is Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall. This is Sandra Hüller's first Oscar nomination. She was also nominated at the BAFTAs, the Critics' Choice Awards, and the Golden Globes. Hüller also received attention this award season for her role as Hedwig in The Zone of Interest, but the BAFTAs were the only precursor to nominate her for Best Supporting Actress in addition to Best Actress. Now, Sandra Hüller's performance, out of everyone here in this category, is the performance that it's been the longest time since I've seen. Killers of the Flower Moon and Maestro and Naiad, I've all given second rewatches to within the last little bit. Anatomy of a Fall, I haven't gotten quite back to yet. And so, but I'm super excited, really exciting excited to get back and check out Anatomy of a Fall again, and to really you know to analyze this performance again, because it's the performance that I think of these five that has stayed with me the most, in the sense of, I'll admit that I didn't exactly know who Sandra Hüller was as an actress. I wasn't very familiar with her filmography. And so going into Anatomy of a Fall and hearing kind of the buzz that she had, I was excited, looking forward to this film. But I just, again, it was one of those, I just didn't quite buy in, and I didn't know if it was really going to be kind of a contender, when it comes to the Academy Awards. But boy, I was watching this film, seeing her performance, it truly was just masterful. It's just a very strong, a very commanding performance. I wish I could have gone and looked at the every year they kind of do the I don't know who exactly does it, but they'll do kind of the screen time, breakdowns of how much each character is on screen, the percentage of the film that they're on screen, and maybe in hindsight, maybe, or looking at it, maybe there's another actress that we'll get to later that she maybe is on screen as much as Sandra Hüller, but I'm willing to bet that Sandra Hüller's top two in terms of percentage of the film, that she is the focal point of the film. And she just does an excellent job, does an amazing job of portraying this character. And I've talked about this with Anatomy of a Fall, that again, this is kind of a little bit of a spoiler, but there's a mystery. There's kind of an investigation that's happening here, and the investigation, it's never really clear. It's never explained to you. It's never really given to you, what the answer is, what the solution is to this investigation that they're looking at. And I think so much of that just comes from the amazing performance of Sandra Hüller, where she's able to give you a performance. And there's, kind of an interesting quote she said that Justine Triet told her to play the character as innocent. So just to play her as innocent. And I think she does that. I think the entire time she's playing, she's, very focused on making herself, her character look like she's innocent. She's very, adamant, and has, anytime that there's kind of evidence that's brought up, she either has explanations, or, she seems like she's an innocent person, that she's frustrated that things are maybe being twisted or manipulated. But at the same time, because the answer is never really clear, it's never really, very resolved, it just kind of, there is always that interpretation. There's stuff for you to interpret from her performance, where you could look at it and say, oh, maybe she is guilty. And it's kind of the interesting part about this film, is that it's kind of constantly bringing you new information, giving you new evidence to the case that kind of is changing your performance. And regardless of whichever, when you're sitting on the fence, wherever you feel about her character in this film, the performance she's giving is so strong that it can sway you either way. If you're leaning onto that she's guilty, she's able to kind of bring you back and truly believing her that she is innocent. And so I just think it's a masterful performance of kind of being able to get you to kind of go back and forth in your own mind about her character. And then again, just we talk about Oscar clips being kind of a thing. If they do that at the Academy Awards this year, if they actually play clips, she has such an obvious Oscar clip. The courtroom scene that kind of is like the flashback to her and her husband when they're arguing, and it's just such an impactful clip that there's specific lines in that argument and in that discussion that they're having that just burned into my brain. And it's just very impactful. Again, that goes with the script. Obviously the script wrote it that way, but her performance and her line delivery of those lines really just made a lasting and truly one of the best fight scenes or argument scenes between a couple in cinema. It really is that impactful, and it has stayed with me. And again, I mentioned that this is the performance I haven't seen the most recently, but it's definitely the one that has just stuck with me the longest. So my personal ranking for Sandra Hüller, I'm putting her in first, but then my prediction, I'm going to put her in fourth. The next performance that we're taking a look at is Carrie Mulligan in Maestro. This is Carrie Mulligan's third Oscar nomination, but she is still looking for her first win. She was nominated back in 2021 for Promising Young Woman and in 2010 for An Education. Mulligan joins Emma Stone as the only other actress to be nominated at all four of the major precursors this award season: the BAFTAs, the SAG Awards, the Critics' Choice Awards, and the Golden Globes. And unfortunately, I think Carrie Mulligan is kind of a victim in two different senses, I think, this award season. In the first sense of Maestro being definitely the Best Picture nominee that a lot of people like the least, and myself included. It's my least favorite of all the Best Picture nominees, but I still like the film. But I just think for that reason, I think Carrie Mulligan's maybe dropped a little bit lower. But then the other reason that she's kind of a victim is because in this performance, especially seeing it the second time, I was just kind of more blown away, more floored by her performance the second go around. She's still a victim of there just being three incredible performances this year ahead of her that are just these phenomenal, like, front runners, all just impressive. Like, they're getting all the tractions. And so Carrie Mulligan, even though she was getting nominated everywhere, she just at no award show has really had a chance to gain any sort of momentum or really have a chance really at winning. So it's kind of unfortunate for her in just that sense. There's two different kind of areas where it feels like she's a little bit of a victim in that sense that she does give an excellent performance that is worthy of nomination and worthy of more discussion and praise than what she's getting, but it's just because she's going up against some all-time performances in this category that make it a little tough. But that's the thing with Carrie Mulligan's performances on the second rewatch. I was just blown away by like the subtlety of it and by just kind of how much of her performance is just kind of its looks at the camera or looks at, Bradley Cooper's character, watching him as he's interacting with other people and her just kind of staring, and you can just feel through her stare that she's really analyzing the situation and it's really impacting her. And so I just think with that added, just the subtle performance is so beautiful. And then obviously she does have some scenes. She gets some moments where, her and Bradley Cooper get a fighting, an argument scene as well. That's really, really good, really memorable for, kind of how it ends, kind of what's happening in the background during this argument. But her performance is just, it's truly is like, it's a really great performance. And I think she's not, she's not on screen as much as Bradley Cooper's character, obviously. But I think she's like just as equal parts of a lead. Like, she carries this film so much more, and she's also the performance that, of all the nominees here in this category, she's the one. I'm like trying to think now. Maybe Lily Gladstone's character. I mean, there's definitely years go by with her character, but it's not anywhere near, I don't think, as long as it is for Carrie Mulligan, where you watch them as young kids fall into love, kind of the highs of their relationship towards the struggles that are happening, later in life, towards the end of her, the end of her life. That's kind of the reconciliation, kind of mending that relationship back together with Bradley Cooper. So you get the kind of the waves of this relationship. You see the different moments, the highs, the lows, just these different things. She's giving you all of this different acting prowess. She's giving you different, emotions. She's portraying it all very well, and wide range again of ages, and then just of the emotions that she has to portray. But still, for me, I think what's so impressive is just the moments, the subtle moments, the stares, and like the final shot of the film, kind of ending on her. I have to maybe rewatch it. I don't think she has a line at the end, kind of when it cuts back to that shot of her. I don't think she has any lines, but it's just a stare into the camera that I think just ends the film on a beautiful note. And so again, I feel kind of sad for Carey Mulligan in the sense of it seems like, a couple years ago with Promising Young Woman, and now here with Maestro, her last two nominations, she's been deserving of these nominations, but then just is unable to get really kind of any traction when it comes to the awards season. And so for my personal ranking for Carey Mulligan, I'm putting her in fourth, but I'm going to put her in third in my prediction. I think that just the fact that she's gotten nominated everywhere, maybe I'll put her ahead of Sandra Hüller. And the final nominee that we're taking a look at is Emma Stone in Poor Things. This is Emma Stone's fifth Oscar nomination and her fourth acting nomination. She won for Best Actress back in 2017 for La La Land. She was nominated for Best Actress in 2019 for The Favorite, and for Best Supporting Actress back in 2015 for Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. Stone was also nominated in the Best Picture category this year for producing Poor Things. And so I think Emma Stone this year, she maybe gives the most out there performance. And I think that's part of the reason why she has so much buzz online and there's so much talk about her performance. And because it definitely is the most out there. You talk about Carey Mulligan and you talk about, Lily Gladstone and Annette Bening, and so I mean, three of the five, they're playing real people, and so they're being a little bit more true to their people, to the people that they're portraying, and whether that's a little bit more subtlety or just some more serious to the character, kind of the competitiveness and the aggression and the intensity from Annette Bening. So they all kind of are sticking a little bit more towards the real life people that they're portraying, and then Sandra Hüller's not based on a real person, but it's a more serious dramatic role where she's kind of I don't want to say boxed in acting wise, like, but again, there's less opportunity for her to kind of, be goofing around just because of the subject matter of the film. And so I think Emma Stone's performance stands out in this group solely in that sense that it's the most out there. It's the most kind of she gets these moments. Obviously, not to take anything away. There's very dramatic and very serious moments, and she, because she kind of has two characters a little bit that she's playing here. So one of her characters is very dramatic and somber performance that she's giving. But one of the other characters she obviously has toward the end of the film, she gets some very, very dramatic and emotional moments. But throughout the film, a lot of it is kind of this comedic performance. It's kind of this comedy where she's kind of out there and doing a lot of different things, and it's just kind of this goofy nature as she's kind of growing up in this world and kind of maturing and learning about the world around her. So it's kind of creates for a lot of these uncomfortable kind of interesting situations that she's putting herself in, kind of just because of who she is and her understanding of the world. So I do think that because of that, I think Emma Stone's performance is the most out there of these nominees, but it is really good. She does a great job of kind of delivering that. And then and obviously you talk about her character of it's kind of this coming of age story where throughout the film she's mentally aging differently than you're at a different level at each stage of as opposed to where her body where you might think she is kind of mentally. And so she does an excellent job of early in the film kind of playing like a toddler, kind of being a little more kind of not the brightest, kind of saying things that are, she doesn't really have a filter. She doesn't have, full grasp of things. She really is kind of like a child. And then it's just as the film goes on, you continue to see her, and at each step, at each different continent that they're kind of bouncing around along the way, every additional step, she's kind of, she's maturing a little bit more. And I think that's what's impressive is that each step along the way you can kind of feel it. You can feel her adding, Emma Stone kind of adding more words to her vocabulary, adding more emotions to the performance, and it just kind of gets more and more nuanced as the film goes on. And so for me, I think that's the most impressive part about Emma Stone's performance is just playing this character all the way through. And maybe not as much time goes by as it does for Carrie Mulligan's character, but I think mentally, I think Emma Stone's character maybe goes through the most growth and through the most change throughout the film. And again, just at each stage of it, you buy her character, you buy what she's experiencing, you buy the emotion. So I just think that from start to finish, I just think that her performance, while it is kind of out there a little bit, she also has a lot of the grounded moments that really just make it all around just a special performance from Emma Stone. And so my personal ranking is I'm putting her in third, and then my prediction is that she's the runner-up, but I do think there's a real good chance I flip between her and Lily Gladstone come March 10th. And that's it. Those are the nominees for Best Actress. Let me know down below in the comments who you're rooting for and who you think is going to win. And then also let me know if it was Margot or if it was Greta Lee or who else it was in this category that you were hoping would get a nomination that ultimately didn't. But then also while you're down there in the comments, let me know what categories you'd like to see me do next. A little bit of a spoiler, I can tell you most likely Best Actor is coming tomorrow, and then we're kind of down to, I think, just 3 more Oscar categories at that point for the rest of this week. So again, stay tuned. I'm going to continue trying to push through my goal of uploading every single day for pretty much the last 3 weeks leading up to the Oscars. So expect, another video tomorrow. And again, thank you so much for watching and have a great day.